Okay, are you into trendings that are happening, or maybe you're not, and you would like to change up the way you apply your makeup just a smidge? Well, either way, I think you're gonna find this video really interesting. I'm gonna talk about what is blush draping and sunburn blush.
If you're here, then you woke up today, and that is a blessing. Don't take that for granted. Don't waste it.
Okay, so blush is now the star. It's not any longer like the finishing added to your makeup application. It's like the main character. Think of it that way. Let's keep everything else aside. I've got like my foundation, a little bit of eyeshadow on, but I want the blush to be what's making the statement, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about two trends that are occurring right now. As I said in my opening video portion, whether you do follow trends, listen, I'm one that I don't. If I see it and I know that it's not for me, I'm out. But sometimes you can fall into that column of, maybe I just want to try something a little different than what I've been doing. And if that trend is what fits you, then go with it. What exactly is draping, blush draping? Here's a photo of what blush draping is, okay? It's probably just tagged under like a new word, a new phrase. But honestly, it's something that we've been doing for a while, okay? Especially if you're aging like I am. This one is probably one of my favorites. I was in the column of I'm there. I could do this. Okay, so blush draping basically, guys, is taking your blush, okay? And I'm gonna take one of my favorite shades right now. It's spring around the corner, and this goes so good for this time of year, but also, honestly, even into the summer. It's one that's called Madrid, okay? This is with Seint Makeup. Gorgeous color. Okay, let me just look at that. That is Madrid. And then you're gonna see on my cheek how that looks placed when it's blended. But getting back to blush draping, what this is really is just taking your blush and starting at the apple, or not the apple, but like that cheekbone. You know, you have like that cheekbone that's right there on the outer part, lower to your outer eye. And that's where you want to start, by placing that shade, that color. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring that color up towards your temple. You're going to blend that shade right there. So it's kind of doing like a sideways C color in a way. Now this is really pretty, I think, for many reasons, and we're going to talk a little bit about placement a little bit down the line. But what I find with doing this is it automatically just brings everything lifted, right? And I don't know about you, but one of the things that tends to happen is that we lose a lot of volume on our faces as we age. One of the places for sure I've noticed for me is my temple. Now, it's not so bad. Like I've seen other women my age or a little bit older that it is really noticeable. Now, I don't want to really point out or name names, but I want to make a very obvious point. And there was this one well-known person, I don't even know her name, but she was on that program, Dancing with the Stars. She was one of the professional dancers. And she came out just kind of feel like she was under attack, because she was told, and I don't know if you saw this or not, I see a lot of video clips, but that she was bringing her brow all the way down. And why was she doing that? Why was she bringing her brow all the way down like her temple? And she wasn't. She says, that's not my brow. That's not what I'm doing. I'm aging. I've got hollowness that's going on my temple, and it is so darkened. So it's almost like a shadow. You're getting hollowness, and then the shadow brings like a certain shade of darkness to that area that we tend to want to make sure that we're keeping that area more lidded, whether you're using like a little bit of an under eye cream or something that will, or concealer, right, that will kind of bring that towards the temple, or using like a blush to camouflage, to have that appearance that you are having some color there and not it being dark. Blush draping, it's been around for a minute. It's just been given a different name, but I can totally get into this trend. The other trend is called Sunburn blush. This is another one that I'm sure you've seen, and here's another photo. It is so natural. It looks like the sun just kissed your face. Really, that's all it is. It goes from your cheek to cheek, but across your face. So let me go ahead and show you briefly like how that is. You take your blush. Now I already have it clearly on my other side. So I'm just gonna place that, and you can actually, if you want, blend these two trends together if you'd like have the draping, right, where it's coming up to your temple, and then combine both the sunburn look if you want to do that. And since I already have the other side that way, I'm going to go ahead and finish this side by doing the draping one. But all you're doing with that sunburn blush is you're going to take whatever like is left over on your brush from what you're placing, and you're just going to run it across the bridge of your nose just lightly. And if you just add a little bit more, can you see that? It just looks like you were out in the sun a little too much. And it's a look that you can create without having to sacrifice abusing your skin in the sun. So again, you're just taking the color and the rest that's on your brush, and you're just lightly bringing it to the bridge of your nose. If you like, you can even put a little at the end to kind of just give it more like a cohesive look. The other thing too is that if you have trouble having if you're using creams for blushes, which I love, it just allows for a prettier, dewier look. If you like that look, that's one of my favorite looks. But if you like to have the cream for that reason, you can take actually, and I'm going to change my color because I'm going to show you another way that you can have maybe your blush last a little longer, still using the same trending looks, but taking a color that's a powdered blush and then just adding it on top. So I'm taking this color, which mimics very much this color. You can see it. And then all you're going to do basically is just take a little bit of that blush, right? That's a cream. And if you want to know, this color here is called Renaissance. So it's one of my favorite colors too that I always have like on in my palette. But you just take your cream, your blush now that you like to use, that's powder. And this is again, if you're just wanting a more of like a stain power, like it'll just last a little bit longer. So I'm just trying to find a brush here that I can use. So let's go ahead and take this brush and then just kind of like dab onto it. That's all you're gonna do, like on your cheeks. You don't even have to take too much, but all this does is that it dries down a little bit of the cream, and you're able to have it last a lot longer. So it's a little tip that I don't know if you were aware of, and I think it's a great way to have your powder not kind of move, not disappear throughout the day. Just take your favorite cream and then take a similar color to a powder brush and then add so that. I think a couple of common mistakes, if you want to call mistakes, I really don't think there's such a word when it comes to makeup, right? You're going to do you, what's going to be comfortable for you. But referring back to placement. So when it comes to placing, I mentioned before that you want to put it in a place where you're lifting it and you can create like you have like a cheekbone, right? It's a little bit more chiseled because what you're doing is you're showcasing your blush, right? Like that's the main character. So you're not putting on any contouring, and that is taking place of that. And so that's where placement comes in. When you usually contour, you're usually contouring like right on that cheekbone. And that's what you're doing with your blush. You're taking your blush and you're placing it right there on that bone and then going upward. If you're not careful and you end up putting that blush, like let's say on the apple of your cheek, which is what we've always done, and that's fine depending on where you're at on your age. If you've got like the filled in, cheeks, great. But when you start to have the hollowness, as I said earlier, once you start placing that blush on the apples of like your cheeks, it will make you look like you're even sad. It's the same concept of like when you are using contouring and you're not placing it like where you really need to. If your concern is to have a more lifted look to your makeup application, so for sure, placement is helpful, and there are like these do's and don'ts in a sense. The other thing is just using a little bit too much pigment, too strong of a look. I think that even though it's the main focal of your makeup application, right? It's the main character of the scene. It doesn't mean it has to be overdone. You can keep it very natural. So blending is definitely key when it comes to applying your blush, which is the reason why I love creams. It's so much easier to blend your creams versus a powder, right? It's almost like liquids. Once you put it on, it sets quickly. And the same thing is like with a powder. So with the cream, it gives you more flexibility to blend and apply little and then just continue to add as you go. Okay, and so before I call this a wrap, in discussion of this whole blush, draping, and sunburn blush, the other thing and final point is for sure choosing the shades that are good for you. I know sometimes that can stump us at times, right? And as many of you know, if you've been here before watching any of my videos, I love to color match as far as makeup for your foundation, but even with your blush and your choice of bronzers and what have. Now, there's always a color match link below that I would love to be able to help you with that. Totally free, customizable just for you, and it'll explain on how to do that below. But speaking of just knowing what shades are going to be well. Now, standardly, I would say this. If you're fair skinned, if you are clearly a lot lighter in shade than I am, beautiful pinks and peaches are gorgeous when it comes to your skin tone. Not again that there's a no answer. If you want to go with a darker one, by all means. But if you are keeping it more in the sense of having your blush look more natural, more subtle, then a nice soft pink or a peach would be ideal for you. Here are a couple of suggestions as far as like some of those tones that would look so nice for you. And now if you have some more of a complexion that is medium skin tone, I refer to myself as being in that medium skin tone color. Gorgeous shades would be like coral and warm roses, rose colors. Again, here are a few suggestions that fall into that category that will just allow your blush to just shine beautifully, right? It will just give you the flush, natural, speak of sun kind of like kissed look to your cheeks. So just think coral and like very warm rose colors. Now, if you are a darker pigment than I am, I would suggest these colors. These are beautiful. They're berries and they're terracottas and those plum looks. They're gorgeous. But again, it doesn't mean that you, as having someone that has much fair skin tone, can't use these. It's in your preference. I think anyone can pull any shade off, right? We know that it all goes with maybe what you're wearing and kind of tying all of that in together. So listen, as I always say, you do you, boo. But wrapping up, which one do you think is you've kind of fall into? Are you more of the drape blushing or the sunburn blush? What would you call it? Or do you think that this takes place of even using contour, as I said earlier, right? Would you prefer to just skip the contour? The weather's getting warmer, right? Who needs more makeup? And just sticking to this form of trend that's kind of like hit the waves right now. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what you would choose to have as your next or try this trend that's going on, right? Are you in the camp of the draping or the sunburn? I'd love to know. Don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel. I try to bring some tips to you as far as like what's helpful, and I hope that I've accomplished that today and I've given you some ideas on trying something a little different, and that comes from my heart. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much, and I will catch you in my next video.